Hello, Tony Candela here with CE Auto Electric Supply. Today I'd like to talk to you about upgrading the audio system in a late model vehicle. Now, many of you already know that my career began in the car stereo industry in the 1980s, and in the 80s it was easy to upgrade the system in any vehicle on the road. And the upgrade path back then may have looked like, adding a better AM/FM cassette player, maybe adding an equalizer so you could custom tailor the way the system sounded, certainly a pair of 6x9 speakers in the rear deck, and if you were like me, an amplifier or two so people could hear you a couple blocks before you showed up. Fast forward to today, and that style of upgrade is simply not possible in many vehicles. So the system that I have at my left is manufactured by Kicker in their Soundgate division, and this system is designed for 2011 and newer Chevy Cruze vehicles, specifically Chevy Cruze vehicles that do not have the upgraded Pioneer audio system in them. So this system is designed so that it works hand in hand with all of the OEM installed components and provides superior performance, greater output, better low frequency extension, and better sound quality. So we're going to install this system in my fiance's 2012 Chevy Cruze, and we're going to evaluate its performance. So I'm going to show you the specifics of this system, but before we do that, let's talk generally about some of the challenges that you face when upgrading the system in a modern vehicle. The number one challenge is that the source unit that comes from the factory may be integrated in the vehicle in such a way that it simply is not possible to remove or upgrade it. Now that source unit typically is going to have a lot of features that are desirable. The source unit in the 2012 Chevy Cruze that we're going to be putting this system in has Bluetooth built in, it has an iPod control built in via a USB dock, it's got CD playback of course, it's got a very good display, it's got large buttons, it's easy to operate at any speed, it's very intuitive, like most OEM installed audio systems are. Now, other vehicles may add, navigation or maybe even an onboard hard drive that allows you to rip media off of disks and store it on the hard drive of the unit itself for playback. So you may just find that the unit that your vehicle came with is something that you like and you want to keep. A system like this is designed so that you can keep that unit and be able to get high performance audio without having to worry about upgrading it. Now, one of the things that's really changed in the car audio business, and this applies to both the aftermarket and the OEM side of the world, is the fact that digital signal processing is utilized very widely now. And digital signal processing, or DSP, allows engineers of OEM audio systems to be able to get the best performance possible from inexpensive components. So one of the number one drawbacks of retaining OEM components has always been the quality of the speakers installed. The speaker quality hasn't changed much, but when we use DSP with an inexpensive speaker, we can get a whole lot better sound quality from such a speaker. Now, in addition to that, if you're trying to interface with such a system, it may be difficult to find a full range audio signal present at any of the speakers in the vehicle. And that's something that requires an aftermarket processor to be able to take, speakers from the left channel and speakers from the right channel, and then some non-full range signals together to be able to create a full range signal, and then add amplifiers and speakers from that point. Third challenge in a vehicle like this is time alignment. Often when the vehicle has multiple speakers, the outputs of those speakers is delayed in such a way that all of their output arrives to the listening position, which could be the driver's seat or the location between the driver's and passenger front seats, depending on the vehicle, at the same time. So these are some challenges that have to be taken into consideration when upgrading an audio system in a late model vehicle. So I'm going to show you the components of this particular system and give you a run through. Now, this system is available from Kicker dealers, and you can locate a dealer near you by visiting Kicker's website at www.kicker.com. This is the 4-channel DSP amplifier that's included in the kit. Now this amplifier makes 50 watts into each of 4 channels, and that's going to be used to power the stock speakers that come installed in the Cruze. This amplifier also has a built-in line driver that's going to send a nice high voltage signal to our subwoofer amplifier, which is located in the rear of the vehicle. Now this amp includes a wiring harness that is designed to plug directly into the back of the OEM source unit, and then from there into the wiring harness that was removed from the OEM source unit. So this is literally plug and play and doesn't require any cutting or splicing of any kind to install. Now it also includes a fused power harness, which is going to connect to our underhood power distribution point, and in turn to our wiring harness for the amplifier, so the amplifier gets all of the power it requires from the vehicle charging system to perform optimally. Now this amplifier is mounted to a very specific bracket, which, as you will see later in the installation, allows it to be located in a very specific location in the vehicle, which is going to be unobtrusive. Now this amplifier also has quite a bit of DSP built into it. Number one, Kicker's engineers spent a lot of time to be able to develop an equalization contour that takes advantage of the additional subwoofer to the system, and it also removes the low frequency response from the 4 factory speakers, so you can play them louder without worry of bottoming them out from excessive bass. And that equalization contour is designed to be able to just maximize the performance of the whole system. And in addition to that, each of the output channels have limiters in the form of a compressor, so that it's not possible to overdrive them. So we're going to take a look at the subwoofer system next. This is the subwoofer assembly included in the kit, and it has a 10-inch dual voice coil subwoofer installed in an injection molded plastic enclosure. Now this enclosure is designed to simply install in the driver's rear corner of the trunk of the vehicle, so it's nice and tucked in, out of the way. It does have a couple of really nice metal brackets that are designed to install to the vehicle with existing mounting locations for the carpeting trim. It also has a wiring harness that connects the subwoofer module to both the DSP amplifier and to the battery via this fuse connection. Now the amplifier itself is mounted on the top of the subwoofer enclosure, and you can see it right there. It's a 200 watt amplifier, and it literally has plug and play connections to the amplifier and to the subwoofer itself. So here's our vehicle, 2012 Cruze, and we've got the system installed. Before I put the dashboard back together, I'd like to show you what I meant earlier in the video about not being able to replace some of the source units. This particular source unit is comprised of 3 pieces. So if you'll notice, what you have here is a control panel, and then above that you've got a monitor, and then below that you've got what appears to be a standard, doubled in unit with the CD mechanism, etc. Probably also has the built-in power from the factory. We're not using that anymore. So this system is has been designed from the ground up for this particular vehicle, so it's not universal by any stretch of the imagination, and it would take some creativity on the part of an installation technician to be able to come up with something different to go into that location. So let me get all that back together, and then I'll show you where all the rest of the components are. We'll go from there. Stay tuned. Okay, now the installation in the Cruze is done. I'm going to show you where all the components are. Under the hood, the amplifier power wires, are both designed to interface at this junction stud right here in the factory power distribution center. Things have come a long way. I mean, look at those fuses. That's one solid fuse assembly in that box. So very easy to connect those. Each of the amplifiers is protected with an included mini ATC style fuse holder. The cables pass through a factory grommet on the firewall, which was actually quite easy to access. Let's go inside the car. I'll show you where the front amplifier is located. Turn this light on here. You'll notice that it's right underneath the dash above the dead pedal on the driver's side. Notice how the bracketry is designed to bolt it directly to existing bolts. So, pretty clever. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you'd think that was installed from the factory. It's exactly how it looks. Alright, now let's come around to the rear of the vehicle. And there's the subwoofer installed. And it bolts in place. All hardware is included. This thing is incredibly solid. So that's not going anywhere. Obviously all the trunk space is still available. So let's get in the car and see how it sounds. Now unfortunately you're not going to be able to see how the system actually sounds on this video. So you're going to have to take my word for it. We've had the system in the vehicle now for several days and we've listened to all kinds of stuff. And I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a strong 9.5 as far as impressed. And I've been in the car service industry a very long time. This system does so many things well, and it doesn't do anything wrong. The system has greater output. It obviously has better low frequency extension because it didn't have any sub bass before. It was like a vacuum below 80 Hertz in this car. And now that's totally been solved. Now, anytime I evaluate an audio system in a vehicle, I always utilize the best format available to me. And in this case, it's the compact disc. So I'm listening to an MFSL version of a incredibly popular recording as I'm filming this, and the car sounds just incredible. The time alignment in the vehicle, the equalization, the crossover points that were chosen for the speakers have all been done remarkably well. So this system installed in about 2 hours, and my day-to-day as a car stereo installer stopped in 1997. So I gotta believe if I can do it in 2 hours, that most people that are doing this day-to-day can probably do it a little quicker. The system went in without a hitch, and its performance is just you have to hear it to believe it. So the most important thing is my fiance loves it, and she's very happy that it didn't intrude on any of the factory equipment she had in the vehicle, and it simply builds on what she already had. Now, you know, when evaluating the system, I utilized a couple of old favorites, and you may or may not have some of these discs in your collection. If you don't, I would definitely encourage you to get them. They're great for evaluating the performance of an audio system. So until the next time, I give this Cruze system from Kicker in their Soundgate division my highest recommendation. Over and out.